hung a large banner of the Super Bowl trophy in their practice facility. The message was clear: Super Bowl or bust. Well, we got no Super Bowl, and the team got busted up. Here's Josh Allen.
I think that's our mindset, though. Every time we step on the field, every year is, in our opinion, it's Super Bowl or bust. And anything that you do from here on out, it has to be in hopes of winning a Super Bowl.
Okay. He didn't say S, Bob, but he
did. He just said the whole thing. He said Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah. So, Brew, your reaction to Super Bowl or bust?
First of all, I love what he said.
Really?
Absolutely. If you're a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league in your prime on a team that's made the playoffs the last 5 years, you should be thinking every year we got to win the Super Bowl. We can win the Super Bowl, right? So I'm not talking about a guy on a bad team, that's just getting started or whatever. He should think that every single year. Now, the problem is when I look at what they've done this offseason, Jordan Poyer gone, Gabe Davis gone, obviously Stephon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, they've let so many guys go that it looks to me like the front office has done what I would call a soft rebuild, where we're not fully going to the bottom, but it seems like they're acknowledging we'll take a little step back. I feel like if they win 12 games and win a playoff game, play well in another one and lose, the front office will feel good about it and think, okay, next year we're going to make another move. Well, I think Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are S-Bob in their minds. I think the front office is not.
Well, Wildes in his mind is a member of the Handsome Men Society of America. That doesn't make it true.
But I think I really firmly believe Josh Allen does think that.
But
S-Bob.
Okay.
Super Bowl
so here's the
every
thing.
year.
But it's a team sport, and I think what the front office recognizes is that the salary cap is real.
It's a team sport, yet you always just want to give all the Super Bowl victories to Patrick Mahomes and all the blame to Josh Allen when he loses. I digress. Before I let Nick go, here's what Brew is ultimately saying, and this is wholeheartedly what I agree with. Josh Allen is a great enough, elite enough quarterback to put a team in Super Bowl contention. When you are that good of a quarterback, as good as Josh Allen, whether it's Peyton Manning, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, any of these other quarterbacks of the past, they are good enough where put me in a position to win games, and I will put our team in a position to actually compete for a Super Bowl. That's what Josh Allen is. Josh Allen is a good enough quarterback where he doesn't need all the stars to align perfectly. He doesn't need a roster like the 49ers. He doesn't need, this elite next level stacked roster to put the Bills in contention. But at the same time, and this was also kind of what Brew was saying, is you also can't give him the Carolina Panthers and expect him to win a Super Bowl. Neither could you expect Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, anyone. And I feel like we need another team besides just the Carolina Panthers because we keep beating up on them so much. But when you are that good of an athlete, when you are that good of a quarterback, that good of a pro, and now are established, yes, his mindset is every year I want to be fighting for a Super Bowl because you're that good. And that is the problem with it being a team sport. And that's why I'm going to let Nick go ahead, because it's kind of like, well, then where does the team bring you down or push you forward, right? It can kind of go either way. But the truth is that and we already kind of talked about yesterday about, are the Bills, the team itself, S-Bob, Super Bowl or bust? And to me, I genuinely don't know that answer. Some of the moves that they've made this offseason, I can see the argument they're still going to be really competitive, and I can see the argument that it is also more like a soft rebuild. But to me, it's also obvious, though, that they are not making the aggressive moves that we've seen other teams do in the past, like the Detroit Lions, like the Houston Texans, like the Eagles a couple years ago, and actually even just this past offseason, like the Chiefs are doing. All these other teams make true strategic moves to significantly improve their roster. Significantly. And I haven't necessarily seen that from the Bills. Not to say that they're going to be a bunch of scrubs, but it's just harder for me to see how realistically it is for them to now actually compete for a Super Bowl. But I don't know. And like I said, as you all know at this point, I'm a firm believer in Josh Allen's elite talent, that I think if you just give him a neutral team at the very minimum, he can put in a lot of work.
And that they took their shot, and now they don't tear it all down. Exactly right. But this to me is, and you're being far kinder to Josh Allen for saying Super Bowl bust than you would be to Dak Prescott. I do feel that way. As far as this is exactly what I want to hear. This is what you should say. We kill teams.
They haven't had nearly the amount of failure.
Exactly. I would argue the last 3 years in the postseason, the Bills and Cowboys failures are neck and neck, man.
That last Cowboys loss was worse than
Cincinnati coming into your building and rolling you by 17 in the snow. Maybe. I agree with you, but it is still
He lost to Joe Burrow in a snowstorm blizzard with bad coaching. That's, again, if you want to blame the Bills organization, I could understand that, but that's not Josh Allen's fault. Josh Allen isn't a contributor to bringing the team down. Dak Prescott is a genuine contributor to bringing the Dallas Cowboys down. You can point your fingers at Dak and say, you are not doing enough to help the Dallas Cowboys to get over the hump. You cannot point your finger at Josh Allen and say, he is not doing enough to get the Bills over the hump. So that's where it makes no sense. Makes zero sense.
It is marginal, but I agree. The Cowboys' loss to the Packers was particularly awful. But this is where I just think the Bills and the discussion surrounding the Bills is delusional, Wilds. I'm going to give you 3 names, and you guys tell me if you know off the top of your head what they have in common. Skylar Thompson, Mason Rudolph, Mac Jones. Other than they're all backup quarterbacks now.
Quarterback. Wow.
That's the entire list of quarterbacks the Bills have beaten in the playoffs since they actually were close to a Super Bowl the year they made the AFC title game. That's it. The last 3 years have been very easy to figure out what's going on with Buffalo. They are going to either run away with or find a way to win the AFC East. They are going to play in the first round a team that is just thrilled to be there in the postseason with a quarterback who is not long to be a starter, roll them, and then get beaten by a true contender in the next round.
This is hilarious because, again, this kind of goes off of what I was talking about with JCT Slice from the comments, a subscriber, where we were talking about Nick wants to bash all these other teams. So, again, he's saying the Bills are not that good. So then beating the Bills is not that impressive for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. He says that Lamar Jackson can't handle the moment and chokes. Okay, so then beating him is not that impressive. We all know that he thinks Tua is worth essentially nothing, is not a good quarterback at all, and that they can't play if the weather gets below 50 degrees. So beating them is not that impressive. And we all know that he thinks that Brock Purdy is essentially like an average lower tier quarterback. So then beating that team is not that impressive. So again, that means that all the teams that you just beat are not that impressive. He thinks Jalen Hurts is kind of like a subpar average quarterback, and that Nick Sirianni isn't a good head coach. So then beating the Jets in the Super Bowl the last season is not that good. He thinks Joe Burrow might not actually be an elite quarterback. He literally just talked about this the other day. Okay, so then beating Joe Burrow is not that impressive. So who is it then that's actually that the Chiefs are beating that's impressive? We know he doesn't think Jimmy Garoppolo is good. So he wants to always point that out for other teams, specifically like say the Bills, but not for the people that he likes. Because he talks about Dak Prescott having like a big game and it was like against the Seattle Seahawks. Like, is that impressive? Or he'll talk about Baker Mayfield being worthy, and yet they beat the Eagles, who he said was the worst team in the NFL last season. At the end of the season, he said that they were literally the worst team in the NFL. So why would Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Eagles team be impressive at all? Yet he acts like that is very impressive and used that as an argument to build up Baker's case. So it's just those inconsistencies just never add up. It's just, you have to be consistent. If you want to call out the other teams, or you want to call out teams for who they beat, that's fine. I'm actually really okay with that. That's how you don't just look at the numbers and just look at the box score and actually look more closely. As I've been getting in debates recently about Baker Mayfield of all people, and people want to talk about how, oh, look at his playoff numbers. And I'm like, well, those playoff numbers are inflated because he beat the Eagles, who were obviously in a free fall at that time. And he beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs, who like turned the ball over something like 4 times in a row, like something outrageous. Like it was like an absolute disaster for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very little to do with Baker Mayfield himself. So I'm all for actually looking at the games themselves and unpacking it more deeply, rather than just saying, well, this guy has 7 playoff wins. This guy only has 2 playoff wins. I mean, for all you know, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, each round they keep playing the 49ers first round, and that's why they keep losing. Obviously, that's not what's happening, but maybe that is. So it's like, well, that's misleading. They just keep playing an amazing team. They're actually a lot better than people realize. So that's why you have to unpack these things. But Nick only wants to do that when he wants to bring a team down, when he wants to bring the Bills down. And again, if the Bills are not that impressive, then beating them last season is not impressive. So stop acting like it's impressive. Then admit that Patrick Mahomes had a cakewalk to this year's Super Bowl. That's what you have to do. Tua, Nick Wright says, is not a good quarterback. He thought that C.J. Stroud was going to run the score up on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. He said he trusted a rookie, C.J. Stroud, more than Lamar Jackson. That means he doesn't trust Lamar Jackson. That means he doesn't think Lamar Jackson's that good. He thinks Lamar Jackson is the James Harden of the NFL. So again, beating them is not that impressive. He just does not make sense.
Since Josh has been there, last year was the first year they actually lost to the champion. They lost to Houston, then Houston got rolled. They lost to the Chiefs then got rolled in the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs again, the Chiefs lost in the next round. They lost to the Bengals lost in the next round. They lost to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. And I think I left out a Chiefs loss in there, but that's it. That's their entire history. So this idea, we like to act like this team is an A-level contender. They're not, which is why talking like this is delusional.
But he didn't come out and he was asked the question, are you Super Bowl or bust? What should he have said?
You know what? We made the mistake of treating it like that last year. We literally hung a banner in our practice facility, and we started the year 5-5, had to fight to get into the playoffs. Obviously, that's everyone's goal, but right now, what I'm focused on is being better than we were last season, and it's something along those lines. It is the same thing you guys say the Cowboys need to be saying every week.
Yeah,
the Cowboys talk about it constantly. It's from the owner.
They hung a banner in their practice
and this year they got rid of it.
And then immediately.
But if I'm asked the question, if Caleb Williams is asked tomorrow, are you Super Bowl or bust? And he says, look.
Yeah, I think it'll be a mistake.
If he says, look, every year I'm playing, I'm trying to win it all. That's all Josh said. I'm not mad at you, but every year we play, we're trying to win the whole thing.
To be clear, I'm not really mad at Josh either. I am annoyed, as I always am, at the conversation surrounding this team, because it has never measured up to reality. It is, again, we are going into, for the last 4 years, what is your favorite Bills playoff moment? Rolling Mac Jones? That's it? That's the only highlight, man.
No, the highlight, as you said before, is losing.
Okay, but then that's not a highlight.
Playing them that tough.
Right.
That was it.
Because even the other 2 playoff games, other than one against Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson had the ball down 3 with a minute left. Remember, McDaniel kind of bungled the clock. And the Mason Rudolph game was it was a one-score game with the Steelers having the ball in the fourth quarter. It was like those.
But I think the talk around the Bills is they are.
Okay, well, it was a one-score game against the Ravens, a one-score game in the fourth quarter against the Bills, a one-score game going into overtime, right, with the 49ers. So again, he's being inconsistent. It's just, what are we doing here? We're just making things messier and messier. I mean, again, it's just Nick has no idea. He doesn't realize that he's undercutting his own narrative of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs being an elite team. And to be clear, I think they're an elite team. But if you keep cutting all the teams that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are beating, Well, then, by definition, they're not that great then. Why would they be great? They haven't done anything to be great then. He just said that he doesn't think the Bills are that good, that they were almost lost. He's essentially saying that the Bills almost lost to the Steelers. That's his whole argument, saying that's why clearly they're not good. That's why he just said that. So if the Bills are not that good, based off of his logic, then under that same logic, the Bills having the ball, being only down by a score in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs would prove that the Chiefs are not that good of a team. You have to keep the consistency of that logic. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't just pick and choose when you want to apply that logic. So, just doesn't make sense to me. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think? Do you think that that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are actually indeed Super Bowl or bust? Or do you agree with Nick that the Bills are just not that good? And again, if they're not that good, then is it impressive that the Chiefs beat them? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.